Forward, mark.
Springdale Cemetery was chartered in 1855, which was prior to the Civil War. There's over 900, I believe 900 Civil War veterans that are buried in the cemetery. So we're very proud to be part of this restoration project to bring the Civil War monument back to Springdale. And we're very proud of the fact that it will be the site where it will be rededicated. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Bruce Brown, who's going to kind of run the program for us and has been very instrumental in this restoration project. Thank you.
Thank you for coming today. Italians have a saying, non emozione, non passione, non Italiano. And we try to control, if I can, the passion and the emotion. It's going to be difficult. I want to tell you a little bit about this project, the Shaft Memorial here, restoretheshaft.org. The year is 1866. The Civil War ended in 1865. The Peoria County Board decided to erect a monument to pay tribute to Peoria County Civil War veterans and casualties. And I think some of you know, but let's get it out there. Peoria was the liquor capital of the world, and the taxes on the distilleries in this community funded about 85% of the entire budget of the federal government during the Civil War. It could rightfully be said that the taxes out of Peoria County paid for the Union side of the Civil War. So Peoria decides to erect the monument. And the original location for the monument was Springdale Cemetery. But Peoria was only 19,000 population then, and the supervisors, feeling that this would be a popular monument, reconvened, actually went outside for 20 minutes and came in and voted to erect this monument in the courthouse lawn, where it stood for 96 years. The day of the dedication, October 11th, 1866, population of Peoria about 19,000. 30,000 people showed up. So it was a great day in Peoria. The monument stood until 1962, when it was dismantled to make way for the new courthouse that we know about today. For one reason or another, the monument was cast aside. It was moved for storage to Detweiler Marina, and for the last 56 years has been mostly forgotten and unknown. And I'll get to how we came here today a little bit later in the program. So you have before you today 6 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, one on the truck, 6 pieces of the surviving original monument. What is missing as you look at this is really the day of the dedication. Peorians affectionately named the monument the Shaft, and you can see why. The tall spire. That was destroyed, the cap on top was destroyed, and the eagle was destroyed. Those are the pieces that we intend to replace to make this monument whole again. And one of the incredible energy points of this project, the company that made this in 1866 is still in business, and we are in contact with them, and they will be reproducing the replacement parts. So I want to go right through this. We have some other speakers here today, and you know when I said bling points and energy points, and I'll get to that a little bit later too. The outpouring from this has been incredible. When we went to gentleman I'm going to introduce, and Steve, the cemetery here is 2 boards. There's the authority that hires Mark Matusik, and they run the cemetery. The secondary board, the foundation, and they raise money for the cemetery. Their mission is monument restoration. So I'm going to introduce Fred Stuber. He has an announcement. He'll tell you a little bit about what the foundation does. Fred?
Thank you. The Springdale Historic Preservation Foundation was formed a little over 20 years ago when the cemetery under private ownership was falling into disrepair and disarray. The grass wasn't being cut, the trust funds were looted by the private owner, the Civil War cannons on Soldiers Hill were sold to outside parties. Even this land we're standing on was sold to a mortician who had plans at one time to build a mortuary here or some type of private investment. So over the years, the first thing we did is got involved with the state to remove the ownership from the private owner and set up an intergovernmental agreement. In fact, Gail Tedford here was on the city council when we had many meetings over 12 to 14 months to finally get this resolved. Well, since then, our foundation has been raising money to help Springdale, to help with monument restoration. We had a fundraiser that we started last year. We had enough funds to build this new entrance, which was, for years, the entrance here was just nondescript. People would go by, didn't know what was here, really. Well, this makes it stand out a little bit. But anyway, today I'm pleased to announce that our foundation board, although we have a lot of needs as it is for funds, but we think this is such an important project that we have decided and approved a $10,000 match for any funds, the first funds that are raised for this project. So the Springdale Historic Preservation Foundation is pleased to be able to participate from that standpoint, and we're really pleased together with the cemetery to have this located here at Springdale, where it'll be an important part and visible to the many visitors. So thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Fred. Thank you.
You know, Fred mentioned, I did too, we present the plan to the authority, we present the plan to the foundation, and they're all in. And we've gotten some pretty good publicity. And the gentleman I'm going to introduce now, the Peoria Riverfront Museum, calls us and said, "This is such an incredible shaft story. How can we at the Peoria Riverfront Museum help?" Bill Conger.
Thank you, Bruce. It's a privilege to be here today. As Bruce mentioned, 3 weeks ago, we met with both Bruce and Bob Hofer, and of course, President and CEO of the Peoria Riverfront Museum, John Morris, as they detailed the results of a miraculous amount of sleuthing and revealed the plans for a restoration project of this historic monument. As we celebrate Illinois in its 200th anniversary of statehood, the story of the first Illinois Civil War memorial proves to be a truly indelible moment in our history. Thankful are we, this symbol of promise of our nation and the sacrifice of those who defended that promise will remain intact. But we at the Peoria Riverfront Museum are not only endowed to the power of objects, we believe in the power of those objects to tell stories, and from those stories to inspire the future. Peoria Riverfront Museum is proud to temporarily display one of the 7 pieces, number 7, on the grounds in the presence of an altogether different but equally soaring Old Abe. Later this year, we will feature a display recounting not only the story of the first Illinois Civil War memorial, but the determination of the people who saved this crucial monument from being completely lost to history. This is truly a story that will inspire our future, and we're very proud to be a part of it. Thank you on behalf of the Peoria Riverfront Museum.
Picking up a little bit of what Bill talked about, a couple of people here today that are not on the speaking part of the program, I want to recognize him. Colleen Johnson, I know, is here somewhere, Peoria Historical Society. And the other one, Michael, raise your hand. Michael Phelan, Mayor of Peoria Heights. And Michael has had this concept, but he's related to me. He's not Italian, but certainly related with some passion. That we in Peoria Heights, it's not Peoria Heights, it's not the city, it's not either or, it's and, hand in hand. And part of our concept in Pure Heights, the new sculpture walk, with the other things happening, is that we might integrate in a lot of ways with the visitors what's going on at Springdale Cemetery and further down the road with the zoo, the African exhibit, and the Luthi Botanical Gardens. And, hand in hand. And thank you for that, Michael, for understanding what community is all about. Thank you for being here today. I'm going to ask also my friend Gail Thetford, she's been mentioned, former 3rd District City Councilman. As was said, she was involved on the council when this cemetery became owned by the city, which it is. She has also graciously volunteered to be on our finance committee, and she's going to just tell you right now, and we're just starting. Last week, things just coming together really fast. I'm going to turn this over to Gail Thetford for just a moment. Gail.
Thank you, Bruce. I want to thank all of you for being here today. Most of you know Bruce, and since you do, you know that when Bruce calls you and asks you to do something, regardless of what else you're involved in, at the end of that conversation, you say yes. So, as a result, I'm pleased to be here and note that I'm a member of the Finance Committee, along with some incredible people, Theo Kenyon, George and Elaine Hopkins, and David Pittman. And as has been mentioned, the prospect of being able to assist in the restoration of the shaft and reuniting the shaft with Springdale Cemetery is a project that is really near and dear to my heart, even though I tried to tell Bruce I didn't have time to do this. So when you look back on your career as a public servant, there are things that you're proud of having done. There are things that you're not so proud of having done. But when I look back, pulling together the county board, county government, the park district, the foundation, and the city of Peoria to turn Springdale Cemetery into a public institution was probably one of the best projects that I was ever involved in. And I certainly didn't do it myself, and it was, as Fred indicated, about over a year-long process. But if you look around now, at what Springdale looks like, and if you remember what it looked like before, we should all be proud of that. So putting the shaft here where it was intended to be in the first place is a wonderful thing. So again, thank you all for coming, and I look forward to everyone opening up their pockets to make this happen. Thank you.
This next woman I want to introduce, same story. Energy points, things just happening. I have such a high regard for, and I've learned at 70 years old that a lot of times the way we think of doing things is maybe not new age. And the one I want to introduce heard about this incredible shaft story. He came up and said, a little different than what Gail was. I said, Bruce Brown, I want to help with this. I'm going to introduce Shama St. Louis, and she's going to tell you what she's going to do for this project. Shama.
Good morning. Bruce is correct. When I heard about this project, I wanted to be involved. One, because I love history, and then I thought, wow, this is a really great opportunity to do something positive for Peoria's history. And so I was brought on board because I happen to know my way around social media and the World Wide Web. So I will be managing the Facebook page and making sure that the Facebook world knows what's going on with the restoration of the shaft. And I'll also be doing the GoFundMe page. So she's looking forward to you guys donating large amounts, and I'm going to make that very easy for you to go right online and go to the GoFundMe and support this project. So I just want to thank everyone for being here today. Thank you, Bruce, for accepting my suggestion to be a part of this project and to help, and I look forward to working with everyone.
next guest, known to me for a long time. You know, when something is developing, you kind of turn to people that you know. I've done it before in public. I'm going to do it now. Call her an A-type personality. I'm going to introduce Cindy Bertino, DAR. Incidentally, the Daughters of the American Revolution, the Peoria chapter, in about 5 weeks from now, June 14th, we'll be celebrating the 123rd anniversary of their forming here in Peoria. The woman that's coming up here right now represents 123 years of activism in this community, and we are so extremely happy to have her on board this ship. Cindy Bertino.
Thank you, Bruce. And I hate to correct Bruce, but it's 122 years. Sorry. I thank you for coming today. I'm Cindy Bertino, Registrar of the Peoria Chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution. In the DAR, we have 3 objectives: historic preservation, education, and patriotism. And this incredible story of the Shaft Monument has all of that. History, patriotism to our veterans, and preservation of this monument in beautiful Springdale Cemetery. The Peoria chapter will be working with several other Peoria area service groups to develop a landscaping plan for the memorial. Thank you very much, and look forward to working on this project.
This next gentleman, Bob Hofer. Some of you may remember him from his activism last year, Memorial Day, at Peoria's forgotten cemetery, the Moffett Cemetery, on the south side of Peoria. As this project was developing, you know, kind of looking around, you know, we want to move through this. We're a little over time already. I could spend an hour talking about Mr. Hofer. I'm just going to introduce him and let him come up here and tell you kind of what he's been doing, and more importantly, what he's getting ready to do. Bob Hofer.
Thank you, Bruce. Let me get a prop here. These are not my speaking notes, by the way. I'm sure you're delighted to hear that. I too wish to offer thanks for all of the attention that's being given to this historic effort for Peoria. Someone recently asked me what kind of purpose I had in life these days. And I said, well, probably the last couple of years, and for the next few years, it certainly can be summed up in 2 words: honor veterans. And that's what we've been trying to do and want to do with this restoration of this incredible monument. As was mentioned just a moment ago, we have documented that this is the first monument to the Civil War that was put up in the state of Illinois. And after it's restored and rededicated, it's our intention to seek inclusion on the National Register of Historic Places, as Springdale is also so noted today. Well, my efforts are going to shift now from research, and Bruce wanted me to bring my binder. It's been supplemented quite a bit since this, but in putting together this tremendous story about this monument, which permitted us to learn things such as the fact that it was the first in the state of Illinois, and also provided the information that we were able to use with the help of Explore Peoria folks, Frank and Amy Blaine, and Frank is here with us today, to take the materials that I had gathered up and put it into a format that you can see on the internet and on a YouTube video that's about 5 minutes long. And if you haven't seen it, I think you'll really like it, and I hope you do. So I'm shifting gears now, and I'm moving toward pursuing grants. And I have identified approximately 20 different organizations, and I've been in contact with over half of them already, and in the process now of getting the documents necessary to apply for grants to help fund this tremendous historic project. And I am very proud to say that the first donations that have been made toward the
but just this next week, we will be receiving the first grant toward this, and I think it's extremely fitting that that grant is coming from the Sons of the Union Veterans of the Civil War organization, the Illinois chapter. And we will be preparing supplemental materials for grants from the National Sons of the Union Veterans of the Civil War. So with that, I'm shifting gears, and I'm going to have the binder available if we need more research, but now it's time to go gather the money and make this thing happen. So thanks, Bruce.
I asked Bob when this research was going on. Bob, when they dedicated that statue October 11th, 1866, what color socks were they wearing? And he said, give me a few days, I'm going to look into it and I'll get an answer for you. To do a project like this requires not myself or some of the others here that, maybe have a claw hammer at home or, a little bar to pull out nails. We need professionals, and boy, do we have them. I'm so honored to introduce Dan Bagley, Autobaum Restorations, that's handling this project. He's just going to take a minute to tell you about what's going on. Mr. Bagley.
Thank you. Autobaum is thrilled to be part of this project. It is truly an incredible story of the shaft and Old Abe on top of it. It's one of the most historically significant jobs that we've ever been part of. We're here, we're ready. We got some of the pieces lined up. We got one more going to get set down here today, and one going down to the museum, as noted. So we're looking forward to it. We're ready to get started. Thank you.
Our last presenter, and I am going to, a couple things I want to say first. You may have noticed Joe Hutchinson in the area here, Linda Alliard, Union Sons of Civil War Union veterans, and a little bit ago when they arrived and we're getting started, and I'm talking to them, they looked at one another and said, shall we do it now? Well, I am wearing, presented to me a bit ago, 150th commemorative medal from the National Sons of Union Civil War Veterans, commemorating General John Logan's General Orders number 11, which he issued May 5th, 1868, that established Memorial Day. And by the way, when this statue, the shaft, was dedicated on October 11th, 1866, before there was a Memorial Day, General Logan was in town. He was here. He was part of the presentation. He else was in town because the top of this monument has an eagle affectionately known as Old Abe. Old Abe was a real live eagle, a mascot of one of the Wisconsin infantry units that was given during the Civil War to flying around over the battlefield squawking and hollering for the Union side. Old Abe was in town that day too, a crowd of 30,000, flying over the crowd, squawking and hollering. And why do I know these things? The fellow I'm going to introduce here, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be hard not to get emotional. Is Norm Kelly. It's a name known to you, Norm and I. We've got a gentleman standing over here that had a monthly magazine, and he would have Bruce and Norm, Bruce take the pictures, Norm write the articles. I don't know, 5 or 6 years, a monthly magazine, let's call it 60 articles and pictures. And I'd pick Norm up and we'd drive places, and he'd start telling me about the shaft. Oh, Norm, so many people have looked for it. Oh, Bruce, I want to tell you about the shaft. So I know these little bling points and details from a story that Norm wrote in 2011 about the shaft. And he's our last presenter. And what he's going to do here in just a few moments, as he should, I'm getting a lot of credit here today that I don't deserve. The guy I'm getting ready to introduce deserves. He, Norm Kelly, got this started, okay? In just a moment, Otto Baum is standing by. I'm going to introduce Norm. He's a couple things he wants to say. He's going to signal Brett Saul back there in the yellow safety vest. And on Norm's signal, Brett Saul is going to lower that last piece of surviving pieces of the shaft into place. And I want to say something else. Some of you know I'm the seventh of seven. My mother was the seventh of seven as well. So I have this cosmic. And I don't know if that's true. So I'm not going to say that the people that came together for this project, Norm and so many others, and are still coming in, I'm not going to say that there are unseen hands and spirits involved in this. No, I'm not going to say that. What I am going to say is if there were unseen spirits and hands helping move us forward, whispering someday through the trees and the winds, when, Peoria County, are you going to restore and renew the monument to our service during the Civil War and the memorial to our sacrifice? And as I introduce Norm here, I would say, in answering those voices that I don't hear, wait just a little while longer, brave Civil War soldiers from Peoria County. The moment of redemption is just a few minutes away from starting. Okay.
So we're here. I bugged the hell out of him for a couple of years. And why did I pick Bruce? Well, but who else was going to do it? You don't think I was going to do it, do you? I just wrote the story and touched Bob. And I thought, we ought to really do something about this. But you know the name that no one's mentioned so far. And it's Tom Edwards, who is a writer for Journal Star. He really wrote the first story about the shame of it all, about us having lost these rocks. Where are they? I don't know. And so when I first took Bruce and some other people who went with me out to the Detweiler Marina, the wrong one. Out in the winter, we were looking around for these rocks. And one day I found a piece of paper, and I thought it looked like it might mean something, and I gave it to Bruce, and he knew exactly what it was. And that's how we found it. We went down then to the right marina downtown, and I'm sitting on one of those damn rocks right now. I'll tell you, I'm sitting on it. And I don't know what it is, but Bob Hofer does. So if you look for any brilliancy when it comes to my writing the story, you're looking in the wrong place. It's these people who understood it, And so I think, don't you think, Bruce, it's time we got this thing going? And put the last one down, okay? That's the big signal, and it's just the beginning.
A couple of people that I want to recognize have standing behind me, Kate Pastucia, Peoria County Board, and by the way, it hasn't been said, these surviving stones and the restored monument are Peoria County property, and Kate has been instrumental in helping us move forward to get pieces out of Detweiler Marina and up here, and I want to thank her for that. And again, American Legion, Post 2. Gentlemen, to close this out, I'm going to ask you, if you will, to retire the colors, and then media, the people here are available for questions. Again, thank you. This is the beginning, and some great things are in store, I assure you. Post 2.
Forward arm, forward march. And hold. Left face. Forward march.
Thank you all again. Semper Fi. God bless America. Thank you.
Good job, guys.